Oh, I think I'm having technical difficulties sharing this. Okay, hi everyone. I guess we're gonna get started right now. So we are CNSA, the California Nursing Student Association. We are a chapter of NSNA, which is the National Student Nurses Association. And pretty much we represent and advocate on behalf of all nursing students within the state of California. But we also uphold and promote the values of the nursing profession. So that includes professionalism, uh, education, leadership, mentorship, stewardship, and advocacy. So for today's event, we want to share our nursing student stories and experiences, and offer some words of wisdom and advice for you all. Afterwards, we're going to open up to a Q&A, and then we highly encourage you all to ask questions. So before we begin, I just want to go over some ground rules for the webinar. So during the Q&A, just make sure that you maintain professionalism in all your communication. And then if you'd like to ask a question, you can either enter it in the Q&A box, or you can raise your hand. There's a little hand button icon at the bottom, and then we'll unmute you, and then you can speak. And then if you want to, write in the chat box, you can, but we're going to mainly be looking at any of the questions in the Q&A. And then just make sure that it's set to everyone if you like to share a message with everyone. And this webinar is being recorded. So with that, we'll begin. So my name's Anne. I graduated from Sonoma State University recently in May, and I'm currently the Breakthrough to Nursing Director for CNSA. And so you guys can go ahead and introduce yourselves really quick. Do you want to go first, Casey?
Oh. Riley, go ahead.
Casey. Okay. Hi, everyone. My name is Riley. I am going to be graduating in December from Sacramento State, and I am the CNSA Secretary Treasurer.
Hi, everyone. I'm Casey. I am the CNSA Image of Nursing Director, and I'm currently in my senior year at San Diego State University.
Hi, everyone. My name is Maritza. I just joined CNSA recently, and I am a senior in the nursing program at Sonoma State University.
All right. Thank you, everyone. So the first question is, why did you choose nursing? Like, what sparked your interest in the field, and what made you consider it as a potential career option? So I'll go first. So I know initially I didn't really think about nursing too much. I knew that I liked the sciences, and I was really interested in biology, but I had ended up going into like environmental biology. And then what happened is I kind of realized that that I really wanted to feel that I was helping people in a tangible way. And the great thing about nursing is you can really feel the difference that you're making when you're with your patient. So for me, it was really important to find something that I thought was going to be a good fit and that I would feel good about professionally too. Who would like to go next?
I can go. I feel like this question, or my answer to this question, evolves constantly, especially the further into nursing school that I get. Initially, I wanted to get into nursing because, like Anne, I really liked biology. I was a big science person, and I wanted to somehow take that those concepts and that science and apply it into something where I can help people. And I also am a big, I really like teaching. I really like working with people, very people oriented. And so I learned that nursing, you do a lot of patient teaching. So I was like, you know what, that might be a great opportunity for me. now that I'm in nursing school, I feel like the big things that sort of keep me motivated and keep me loving nursing, one, the variety that you can do with nursing. I think a lot of times in our heads we think bedside nursing, but the amount of different paths that you can take as a nurse is so incredible. And the fact that you can sort of switch it up whenever you just need a little change, and you can really find a lot of different paths. I think that's a really cool thing, and I don't think a lot of careers offer that. So I think that that's really cool. I also, I don't know, I just really like hearing people's stories. I really like connecting with people, and I think that is such an incredible way that you can help people. You really do get hands-on, and you really do get a lot of time with patients. So I think that's super cool as well.
I'll go next. So like Casey said, it kind of changes like my answer, but when I was in high school and I was kind of trying to decide if I like what college and what major I wanted to go into, I thought I wanted to be a doctor. So I was going to be a bio major, and like that was going to be my thing. And then I thought about nursing, and I was like looking into it a little bit more, and I was like, oh, they have like nursing as a major. Like you don't have to just go to a community college. Like you could get I had no idea. Like I had no idea you could get a bachelor's degree in nursing. And so I was like, okay, cool. Like nursing is becoming like a higher education. So that's not something I had heard of before. And I guess I kind of always had like my heart set on, you know, like a 4-year degree or further. But yeah, so then like the more I looked into nursing, the more I was like, oh, this is kind of, I don't want to say better than being a doctor, but like you do get to work with your patients a little bit more. And yeah, just getting to know people and getting to help them. And usually you're like the first one, if they have a problem, you're kind of like the first person to see and help them figure it out. So.
Yeah, so I think for me it's the same thing. It's kind of been changing, but I guess from when I was in high school, I think I was in the same boat as Riley. I was like, maybe I want to be a doctor. But at the same time, I think at 18, you don't really know what you want to do. And I wasn't ready to commit 12 plus years of my life to becoming a doctor. And so I think the logical person in me was like, you know what, we'll go nursing because that's a 4-year degree, that's easier. I'll actually find out if I even like patient care, because at that point in my life, I'd never done anything even remotely similar to that. And you don't really know if you love something until you actually get to do it and get a little bit more experience. So that was the main reasons. And then obviously I love science. I love biology, and being able to help my community through the application of science is so important and valuable to me. And I think the more I get into it, the more I love it. And I just love the flexibility that it offers. And like I think Casey was saying, you really get to kind of switch it up every once in a while if you really wanted to. And it's just such a great career.
Awesome. Thank you, Maritza. So our next question is, like when you were first applying to nursing school, was there specific things that you were looking for? And what made you choose the program that you ended up choosing? So for me, I wanted to stay local. I grew up in Sonoma County. That's where all of my family is. So I really wanted to be close to home. And I was really looking for a BSN program as well. So Sonoma State was really an attractive option for me. Also, the class sizes there are a bit smaller than most normal programs. So I thought that was kind of important too, so that you could really get to know your professors as well. Who would like to go next?
I can go.
Okay.
So like Anne, I wanted to stay local too. I wasn't ready to move out yet. I mean, I was only 18. I feel like it's such a young age. But so I chose Sac State, and so Sac State has a pre-nursing program. So you're not a nursing major until you get accepted into their program. So for a while, I was expressed interest in nursing for like the first 2 years of college, and I had heard like good things about their program. Like when I went to Sac State to tour their campus and everything, I remember Dr. Parsh, she like is their like freshman outreach person, and she kind of really amped up Folsom Hall, which is where our nursing program is, and how it's like its own separate building, and how they have their own little like teaching hospital and their sim labs there. So just, I don't know, it just sounded really cool. So um, and but it is a little scary not being accepted as a nursing major until you like, because you have to apply. So you do all your prerequisites and then you apply. And so it's a little scary, like not knowing like where you're gonna go, because you can do all your prerequisites at Sac State, but then you can transfer. Like if you don't get accepted to Sac State, you could go to another school like Stanislaus or Fresno. But yeah, the main reason I chose Sac State was because it is close, but it's a good school also. I kind of got lucky. Like I live near a good nursing program, so.
I guess, oh, do you want to go, Casey?
Go for it.
Okay. Well, when I applied for nursing straight out of high school, so I believe I applied to San Diego State, um, and that's a direct admit program, so you don't have to do what Riley was saying about, going in as pre-nursing, doing your prereqs, and then waiting to see if you get accepted. I got into that, and then I applied to SSU, and I applied to, I believe, Chico for nursing. I ultimately decided not to go to San Diego State for a variety of reasons, and I ended up going to Sonoma State, and it worked out perfectly because, like Riley says, it's a great nursing program. Their NCLEX pass rates are stellar, so that's like the number of people who actually pass their big examination to become a nurse, and that's an important gauge to see how successful the program is. So I was really happy about that. I was really happy about staying local and getting to go to hospitals that I've actually been to as a patient and getting kind of the other view of it. So that was my main motivation for picking Sonoma State.
So I go to San Diego State, and like Maritza was saying, it is a direct admit program. So basically, once you apply out of high school into the program, you are in the nursing program. You don't have to reapply. You still have to meet certain requirements, like there's GPA requirements and such, but as long as you maintain your GPA where it's supposed to be, you are cruising through the nursing program. What's really great about that, and I personally really love, is the sense of family that you kind of get from it. I think that not having to sort of compete with my classmates really let me connect with my classmates and really let us become sort of a little miniature family within our cohort, which I personally really enjoyed because I'm a very like community-based person. I also lucked out staying local. I was okay with moving, but like I ended up staying local, and that ended up turning into a great thing. So some things that I would recommend when you guys are looking into programs, like Maritza was saying, definitely look at NCLEX pass rates. That's how you can sort of quantitatively measure the effectiveness of a program, is how many of their students then pass the NCLEX, because that is sort of a major purpose of nursing school, is to get you your license. And so definitely look at NCLEX pass rates, look at the type of program that they have, look at the hospitals that they work with, and how they sort of run their clinicals. I would also highly recommend, if you have schools that you are looking into and you're very interested in, look at their website, look at their School of Nursing website. Like Riley was saying, go on a tour and check out the different facilities. I know personally at San Diego State, they had like nursing workshops, where the head of the nursing, the dean of the nursing, would come in and talk with potential students and talk about the program and how it worked and everything. And that was super helpful to me. I ended up going to it like twice because I was really interested in the program. But so definitely do your research and look in and see what sort of resources they have for potential students, because you can never have too much information. But yeah.
Thank you, Casey. So next question is kind of, what's your area of interest or specialty, or just particular things in nursing that you're interested in. So for me, I kind of like the nursing interest I'm most I find most interesting is kind of like the chronic diseases and caring for that. So a lot of diabetes and cardiac diseases. And so I wouldn't say it's necessarily a specific area, but I do want to work in community health because, you know, there's going to be such increases in cardiac and diabetes cases in the future. And I really feel like a lot of times that affects disproportionately the community. So I really want to work in that setting in the future. Who'd like to go next?
I can go. So I kind of went into nursing school thinking like, I'm gonna do pediatrics and like, that's it. Like, I want to work with kids. And I still do, like, I still want to work with kids, but there's so many other options that we've like learned about and gotten to experience. So, you know, really be happy anywhere. Like, as long as I'm helping people, it's kind of like at this point, I'm like, I don't know. Like, I've even had my, like my last semester, we do a community health thing. And so like I've gotten to learn a little bit more about public health and school nursing. And I feel like I still want to work in a hospital, you know, like at first, but then like maybe later on I could work out in the community and do like a lot of health education that way and feel like I could reach more people. But yeah, so mostly it's still pediatrics is like where my heart's at, but I still like could see myself in like an ICU or ER or lots of different areas. And it's nice because you can change what you want to do. You don't have to stay in one area if you don't like it.
I have a couple different areas that I'm sort of like drawn to at the moment. One, I definitely have a heart for OB and women's health, specifically postpartum health. I just love that time period right after a mom has a baby and you just see everyone bonding. You see mom and dad bonding with baby. And I think it's just such a beautiful moment to be a part of. And I think that that's a really important time for like education and really hyping the mom up and really making her feel confident in her new role. And so that's an area that I'm super passionate about. I've also been looking into aesthetic nursing recently. I didn't even know that it existed until recently. And so that's something that I've been really excited about and looking into. So that's another area that I'm sort of exploring right now. But like Riley said, like that's the beauty of nursing is that you can work in one field and then decide you don't want to anymore. And then you can try something else and just do whatever sort of makes you happy and makes your heart happy.
For myself, I got into nursing school thinking I wanted to do anything like maternal child health, and I still feel the same way. So maybe that's unique, maybe it's not. But I really want to do labor and delivery, so working with moms and helping them through the labor process. I think it's so like raw and emotional, and you play such an important role, and especially right now when they don't necessarily get to have as many support people in the room as they would normally have in a non-COVID world. So that's really important to me. But I also, like Casey said, I love postpartum and the educational piece and just being a part of that experience. I've also had days in the NICU, and that is also super interesting. So anything in that area would really work. And but then again, who knows? I don't know what the future will bring, and maybe at some point I'll want to switch to something different. I definitely don't want to do bedside nursing my whole career, so I don't necessarily want to work in a hospital for endless amounts of time. I definitely want to have a community role that really speaks to me, and I think that when patients are in the hospital, you do spend a good amount of time with them, but it's really just one little glimpse, right? Like they had something really major happen, and now they're there, and so you're taking care of them, versus when you're in the community, it's like you're trying to keep them healthy and out of the hospital. And I think that's a major piece that I really love about that as well.
Okay, thank you, Maritza. So our last round of questions before we open it up to y'all. Do you all have any like a words of wisdom or a single important takeaway that we can offer to the audience about either nursing school or just like the process of getting into nursing school. So one thing that I do want to mention that I think is important is nursing school is definitely hard, but I think it's really, really important to find a good support group to help you get through it. I think having that support makes a huge difference in your learning and your growth. So just keep that in mind. Like, you know, nursing school is definitely can be pretty competitive sometimes, like at least the process of getting in. But I feel like once you're in the program, it is like a big family, and you know, just rely on your fellow nursing students to really help you get through it.
Sort of building off of that, definitely find your people. And I think something to sort of look at in programs, or look if having that support system is really important to you, is see if those schools that you're applying to have like nursing organizations on campus. I know that was super important to me. We have a really strong SNA chapter, Student Nurses Association, part of like CNSA. We have a really strong chapter at my school, and that was really important to me because it's really showed that you had these student leaders that are willing to sort of step up and have those volunteer events or have those different resources available. Also, seek out resources everywhere. Don't be afraid to reach out to nursing students at a school. Don't be afraid to reach out to CNSA. Don't be afraid to reach out to professors or whoever it is. Utilize your resources because you have no idea the information that is available to you and the support that is available to you. So really just lean into that and take advantage of that.
I agree with Anne and Casey. Definitely find your people, especially if you're in a program like mine where you do your prerequisites and then you get accepted. Because there is a lot of competition, and there just shouldn't be. It's yeah, because you shouldn't just be competing. Like, you could be helping each other study for chemistry or anatomy or whatever. And I really don't think, like, because of the way Sac State's program is, I mean, it's very big. And then, like, once I was in nursing school, I finally, like, okay, here are my friends, you know? So, like, those first 2 years of college, it was kind of hard to find people to study with and everything. So if you can, like, if you find someone who's like you, just hold on to them and make sure they're in your study group, and I don't know, lift each other up. No sabotage. It's not nice. Don't do that. And then yeah, try to get involved as much as possible. Because I know for me, I didn't know anything about CNSA until I was in the nursing program, but you can be at my school, at least, we have like pre-nursing reps and stuff like that too. So if I had known about that, that would have been great. So like, seek out those opportunities to get involved with nursing organizations, because they really help you, and it's a great way to meet people and meet nursing faculty too.
Yeah, I would definitely say find your support system. It is definitely hard sometimes if you're in a program where you have to apply to the nurse program after you're already at the college. It's definitely competitive and it might be hard, but I think it's definitely worth it in the long run. You know, just to find that support system and build each other up rather than tearing each other down. Um, and then the other big thing I was gonna say is just to always push. I think when I was applying to nursing programs, and because SSC is not a direct admit, I was applying to SSU and other programs as well. And I definitely applied to a bunch of programs, and I wasn't entirely sure that I would necessarily like be a competitive applicant. But then I ended up getting into programs where I thought I wasn't a competitive applicant, and where I thought I was a competitive applicant, I didn't get in. So like, go for it. Like, definitely do what you think might not work out, and just ask all the questions for everyone. Like, the nursing professors, other nursing students, reach out to people, reach out to the clubs at the schools that you're interested in. They might have someone for you to talk to. It's really, like, for me as a first gen student, I think that's something that you need to hear, because I definitely didn't ask enough questions.
Alrighty, so those are all the prepared questions that we had. So we definitely want to answer any questions that you all have. As a reminder, you can either write them out in the Q&A and then we'll answer them, or you can raise your hand and then we'll unmute you and then you can ask your question that way. All right, so first question, do you have to love biology to enjoy nursing? This is an interesting one. Who would like to answer that?
I didn't like biology, not as much as the other sciences. Like I love anatomy. I think that one's an important to kind of have a, you need that. but bio, like just basic entry level bio, I was never interested in like cells and I don't even remember. You just need to get through it. um, but yeah, anatomy is like the big one, and I really liked microbiology. That one's a little different because it's learning about germs and like how to prevent. So you kind of have to have that basic knowledge as a nurse too, so that you know why you're washing your hands, and so you know why you're using sterile processes and stuff like that. But it's all important to know, but you don't have to love it. Biology specifically.
Anyone else want to answer that question?
I will. I don't think it's like, I think what Riley was saying is you don't necessarily have to love it, but you do need to know it. Um, I think there's a lot of other aspects of nursing that don't necessarily require you to love biology. It's a lot of like I guess what I would call it people science, so knowing how to talk to people, knowing how to care for people, knowing how to educate people. It's not necessarily that you like need to love the biology aspect of it as much, if that makes sense.
And again, there's so much variety in nursing that like the content that's necessary for the job you end up doing is going to be so specialized that like what you end up loving and are drawn to, that's going to be what you end up focusing on anyway. So for like a base level understanding, like Marisa said, you need to know it but not necessarily love it. But unless you like want to go into like research nursing, you don't really need to love it and be all about it, you know?
I will say I don't think you have to love everything about biology because there's so much. So like I don't love everything about biology, but there are definitely certain things that I find really fascinating and interesting. And as long as you have that, you know, then it's fine. Okay, so next question. What keeps you motivated when the classes get hard? Who would like to answer that?
I feel like for one thing, this is just like to make it easier so that they don't feel as hard later. I think that as early on as possible, really figure out how you learn and how you study. Figure out, are you someone who studies really well in groups or not? Are you someone who does really well with practice questions or not? Really try to figure out how you like to organize your notes, how you like to study, how you like to set up your space, because that is really going to help you later on so that you don't need to focus on those elements. You can just really focus on the material. But it does get hard regardless. So once classes do get hard, I feel like for one, having my support system, my friends, like, so we can commiserate together, we can study together, we can cheer each other on. I think that's really important. I also think it's really important to really keep in mind why you're studying this. I think that really helps with motivation of looking at the material and not just being like, oh, I need to learn this for the exam. Understanding that that material that you're learning could be helping you treat someone one day, could be helping you care for someone's mother, someone's grandmother, you know what I mean? So I think understanding the importance of the material that you're learning can really help you internalize it and can motivate you to study, even when it does get really hard.
Anyone else want to add anything to that?
I think Casey did a really great job of saying like make sure you focus on why you're studying these things, because it's going to help you help someone else. For me, what was I gonna say? I had to like, I mean, you guys are all high schoolers, so with college I had to completely like change my study habits, and then with nursing school I had to change them again, because the nursing school questions are NCLEX questions and they're all different, and you'll get there when you get there. But so you just really have to like find what works for you. And I like studying in groups, but I also have to take the time to study for myself too, by myself too. I don't know, kind of feel like we're talking about study habits instead of motivation now, but um, but yeah, and it's a lot of like repetition too with nursing school, with like anatomy, your science classes make a lot of flashcards. Those are big. Okay.
Okay. Anyone else? The thing I will add. Oh, go ahead, Marissa.
I would say for myself, it's not just, I think it's the knowledge, being able to have that knowledge and knowing that it's going to help my practice, but also I think that like for myself, I really want to go to grad school, so that's also like another motivation for me, like pushing forward to get a good base so that when I am in a graduate program, it's not like, oh, I have to relearn this. It's like I really learned it well the first time, and I'm building on it rather than trying to rebuild everything again. And I know like as high school students, you're not necessarily thinking of that, but yeah, I think that, and just having a good support system is always a good way to keep motivated, and keeping the end goal of why you're pursuing nursing in mind is definitely.
Yeah, and the one thing I wanted to add was that, definitely take breaks, because, there are so many times where you will get really burnt out. So, don't feel bad about taking breaks. And then sometimes that recharge energy kind of gives you that boost of motivation to continue. All right. So next question. How many years of education does fetal and maternal nursing career take? So you can just finish nursing school and then choose to specialize in it. I think there's certifications that you can do, that you can get. I don't know how long they would take. Does someone else have a better or more to add to that?
There's like certifications and specializations. So once I'm not sure how it would work for like LVN or anything, but for BSN RN, you do your 4 years, get out, you're an RN. You can then go and specialize. So you can go right on to it if you find like a new grad program in like L&D or wherever in maternal you would be interested in. But like Anne was saying, there are like certifications that you would need to sort of get along the way, like basic fetal heart monitoring and beyond basic, or if your hospital does like baby friendly, you'd need to get that. So that's like just sort of things that you could either figure out on the side while you're still in nursing school, or work with the hospital that you're at. A lot of times they'll pay for a lot of certifications once you're hired, but to actually like apply for those jobs, for the ones that require like a BSN, it's just your 4 years, and then you can go ahead and start specializing.
And just
But
to
midwife
add,
is different.
yeah, that is different. So that's a whole other like separate program that you would have to apply for, typically 2 years. But just to add on to that, some of the classes like that you would need also, like NRP, neonatal resuscitation programs, like some of those classes that she's talking about, they're not like, we're not talking about semester long classes. It's usually like a couple of days, like, it's, they need to get certified, and then that's enough for whatever period of time that certification is good for. So it's not something super scary. It's definitely just doable in 4 years.
All right. So next question, what high school classes actually helped you once you got into nursing school? Who wants to take that on?
I'd say anatomy and chemistry, probably the most. My school had ag chemistry, like they were very like ag oriented school. And like don't remember learning anything that helped. But if you just have like normal chemistry or normal anatomy, those are good. I did take ag anatomy, and that actually still helped me. Like the animal anatomy was similar enough that I kind of knew where everything was still. But yeah, but mostly the sciences, I'd say. Biology too, really helpful. But yeah.
I think the big thing I would say is look at what the requirements are for the programs that you're applying to. The big one that I know we talk about at state is that it's more helpful if you take like AP stats in high school as opposed to calc, because we don't even really take calc, or I don't know how that works, but a lot of people are like, oh, I need to take calculus to go to nursing school for whatever reason. I know at San Diego State you don't. So I know a lot of our students love to hear that because they don't want to take calculus if they don't like calculus. So look at whatever programs or whatever like units or whatever you need for the programs that you are looking into, and talk to those deans, look at those catalogs and the requirements, and then you can kind of figure out based on that maybe what you, at least to like knock off credits if you're like taking AP classes or whatever, see what would be helpful in the long run. Not that that like helps in nursing school or anything, but just getting in or whatever.
Okay, next question. What was the hardest part of nursing school? Who'd like to go? Okay.
I can go. I think for me, the hardest part was that first semester. I was so like, it was like, I don't know, it was so different from anything I had ever done before. And I just was so like overwhelmed, and you're just learning like the very basic stuff, and you just, for myself, I didn't even have CNA experience or anything, so I was really like thrown into something that was really different from anything I had ever done. It was really hard, and there was like 1,000 things flying at me, and I had to like learn the very basics just so I could move on to the rest of the program. And it I think that was the hardest part. Like that first semester was definitely very intense, and kind of just trying to learn. But yeah.
Yeah, I think definitely the first semester is the toughest, just because, like you said, it's so new. And I look back at it now and I'm like, the content's so easy. Like, why was I, like I'm like, it's so like innate in me now that I'm like, oh, you obviously you just do this, like you like pick it up and you just, it becomes a part of you kind of as you go through the program. But yeah, it's so crazy, like especially if you haven't done any, like I didn't have any CNA, like some people were CNAs or they had come in, they were EMTs or paramedics before, and so they were already like, oh, I already know how to put in an IV, and I'm like, okay. Or yeah, so it's, but you can't compare yourself to people who have like other job experience either, like it's your own journey. And yeah, but it's difficult, and if you are struggling with like the types of questions, like the NCLEX style questions, definitely get help from faculty. That was a big thing for me at first, because I was just like, with NCLEX questions, you have to pick what's safest for your patient, and sometimes I'd be like, but this is important too, and they're like, no, they can't breathe, Riley. That's the most important one. I'm like, oh, okay. Like, so you like talking to faculty definitely helps, or talking to other students, older students who've already like completed the program helps too.
Sort of building off of that, I think I know the hardest part for me was sort of getting into my nursing brain. You think very differently as a nurse. A lot of times, like in high school or in your Gs or whatever, it's very much you just sort of like memorize for the exam or whatever. but you have to really critically think. So you're learning all of this information, but then you're also learning how to apply it. And so that's the part that I know I struggled with, is like being able to internalize that information and know it so well that I can then apply it to scenarios. And so the NCLEX style questions and getting used to that was definitely the hardest part for me. But so the earlier you can start practicing your critical thinking skills, I think the better. And a lot of that just comes with practice. So practice, practice, practice. The more practice you get with those questions, the better you'll get at them.
And then for me personally, I think the hardest part was like gaining confidence, like especially, yeah, like Riley was saying, if there are other people who just have more health background than you do, then you kind of feel like, oh, you're so behind, or like it's just really new to you. So I think it's hard, like gaining that confidence initially, but you'll get there. Okay, so next question. What is the worst thing you've had to do during bedside? Do the gross parts of the job outweigh the enjoyable parts? Someone have a
Yeah,
story?
they definitely, the good parts definitely outweigh the gross parts. For me, like, I don't know, any type of like bodily fluid is kind of gross, but you get used to it. I mean, but like older nurses will have like tips for you on like if you're like really sensitive to smells. Like I would, like, there was one time I almost gagged, and like it's really hard to, but and like you don't have to be like not, how's it, you don't have to be like not grossed out by things, because it's like everybody gets grossed out by something, and I feel like every nurse has like their thing they're grossed out on, and so you find what works for you. Like yeah, for me it's like anything that smells. Like I can like see something and be fine, but if I smell it, I'm like ugh. But that's like, it's not I mean, it's kind of every day, but it's not like overwhelming. Like you're not constantly having to deal with cleaning up something. Like you most of it's talking with patients and getting to know them, educating them, asking them how they're doing, that type of thing. So that's more fun.
Definitely more enjoyable parts than like the gross parts, but like Riley was saying, like you are going to be exposed to strong smells, bodily fluids, all of that. And I think the biggest thing is, even if it bugs you, just knowing how to keep a poker face about it and just really being able to just continue with the job and like still be comforting the patient. Because as uncomfortable as that is for you, it's got to be more uncomfortable for them. So like being able to handle those situations, even if you are a little grossed out, just being able to react properly. And as long as you prepare yourself for it, again, it's not like on a regular basis. It's the good parts definitely outweigh the bad. It also depends on what unit you're on as well.
All right. So next question, how do you know if nursing is right for you? Who wants to tackle that?
Honestly, I feel like I'm very much in the school of thought is that you never know until you try. I think where you guys are at in high school, if you're really wanting to explore this, maybe volunteering in a hospital, seeing if you even like that sort of environment, if you like being on the floors or the people that you're around, just try it out. But again, you never really know until you try, and there's absolutely no shame in trying something out and figuring out that you don't like it, because the fact of the matter is then you're one step closer to figuring out what you're supposed to do and figuring out what you would enjoy most and what you would want to be doing. So yeah, long story short, just got to try it out, but see if there are ways that you can at least experience the environment and talk to people who are in that field. So volunteering at a hospital or trying to see if you can link up with a nurse and ask them about their story or something like that.
I also did some shadowing for healthcare. So I job shadowed a trauma surgeon at one point, and that was really interesting because I got to be in the OR and I got to see OR nursing and kind of also get to see the vantage point from the doctor's perspective because that's who I was actually shadowing. Learn more about other professional healthcare professions because I feel like when I was in high school, I was like, what the heck is a PA, physician's assistant? And I didn't even know that that was a thing, right? And like the doctors or the anesthesiologists or like the different professions, just learning about other professions. And even if you don't end up liking whatever you're like there for initially, you might find something else that really speaks to you. And that's also really valuable. So just getting as much exposure as you can. And I know right now it's a little difficult, but the other good thing too is like Casey was saying, reaching out to people. And a lot of the times nurses are very kind and generous, and they're definitely going to want to talk to you about their experiences. So definitely don't be afraid to reach out to people.
Yeah, and the beautiful thing about nursing that I know we mentioned a little bit earlier was that there's just so many avenues that you can go into. There's just so much that nurses can do compared to other healthcare positions, really. So even if you feel like bedside nursing isn't for you, which I know a fair amount of nursing students who did not like bedside nursing at all, even though that's pretty much what we did every semester. So if you are that person, it's fine because there are other things that you can do. And hopefully in another webinar, we can talk about different types of nursing stuff that you could be interested in. So just keep in mind, you don't have to be a bedside nurse. There isn't one type of nurse that you have to be either. Okay, so next question. During residency, did you ever think of dropping out of nursing? It's a good question.
All the time. Not because I don't like nursing, but because I feel like I can't do it, and that's like false. I like what is it? Too much self-hate. And it's always like especially like my second semester of nursing school, it's kind of like technically the hardest semester because it's all the like ER, ICU, advanced med surg stuff. And I don't know, there's like something in me that keeps like saying like you can't do this, you can't, you know, like that bad like nagging in the back of your head that you get sometimes. And I'm like, no, I always can do it. There's nothing telling me that I can't. Like so I don't think it's like I feel like seriously thought about dropping out. It's more of like me thinking I can't do it when I can, and you all can. You just need to find support, find help, ask for help when you need it. Because there's sometimes, you know, like it's really hard to study for that test. You know, you need other people to help you out. And that's okay. Like you can't always do it, or it's okay to go ask faculty, be like, what were you talking about in this lecture? I don't get it at all. And like that's why they have office hours. And I guess for me, like, I don't know, I guess more in high school, I was kind of like, I would study alone, you know, and I didn't really need help from teachers, but like college is a whole different world. So just ask for help when you need it so that you don't think you can't do it, because you can.
And again, that just goes back to the importance of having a support system, really having those people that you can count on and you can lean on, I think is such an essential part to nursing school, because those are going to be the people who help you through those moments and help you through your self-doubt and really motivate you to just keep going. So.
All right, next question. Have you ever thought about continuing your education to become a nurse practitioner? I see lots of head nods.
Yes. I am really passionate, like I said earlier, about community health, and I think my ultimate goal at this time is to go back for a nurse practitioner role, either as a certified nurse midwife or family nurse practitioner, and work in a community clinic locally. I think that's so important. And for me, that's important because I'm bilingual, so I know I can help so many people. My mom went to community clinic and she doesn't speak English, and it was a lot of me translating and having to navigate that on my own. So giving back in that way speaks a lot to me. So I'm definitely considering that.
Okay. And so next question. What did you all do during your time in high school to be able to stand out to colleges that you got accepted into, since nursing is so competitive?
Mine is easy. State schools only look at your GPA and your SAT scores. That's literally it. So then from that, they create an eligibility index. I don't know how that is going to work without the SAT scores. I don't know what college applications look like right now. So I can't give you any advice on that. But personally, keeping my GPA high, taking those AP classes so that I could be on a 5-point scale, and studying really hard and doing well on my SATs, because those were the only 2 elements that really mattered, sadly.
Yeah, state schools are pretty nice. I mean, I like did all the other things, like I was involved in stuff too, but when it really comes down to it, like good GPA and SAT scores for Sac State. But then once you, like, it's not so much getting, like, once you're at Sac State, then you want to, because even then it's still kind of just your grades. um, if you can though, try to volunteer in like a hospital or something. I know with COVID you can't do that right now, but at some point that's a really good experience, and you do get extra points. At least at Sac State, you get it's on a point system. So if you volunteer, you get extra points for that.
For me, yeah, I think the coming out of high school is SAT GPA, but then for Sonoma State specifically, you do have a writing piece. There's a writing element to the application. So if you actually like do a volunteer work or do other things, that might be like the time to kind of integrate that, like really being able to speak to why you did certain experiences and how that will inform your practice as a nurse. That's important. So just keep that in mind. But out of high school, it is really just GPA and SATs though.
Okay. So next question. Do you think nurses get treated lower or less than, or less respected by doctors? Personally,
I feel like it's gotten a lot better. Sorry, Anne.
oh no, go ahead.
Yeah, there have been some doctors, particularly older ones, who have like quizzed me in the hospital, and like if I didn't know the answer, they were like, "You need to know this stuff." And like that was just one time. And but most of the doctors are really nice. And they like the nurses, and there's more of a teamwork that's really being emphasized now. So it's not like the 50s anymore. Thank goodness. But yeah.
It also
Yeah.
really depends on like the values of the hospital as well, and what they value, the culture of the hospital. So when you are applying for jobs, by the end of it, asking about the culture of the hospital or the values, I think is really important to see if they do value communication, community, teamwork, all of that.
There's also a lot of like nurse to nursing student like harm. So again, just finding out the culture of the hospital, and your faculty is always there for you as a nursing student to help you. So if your nurse that day like isn't teaching you, you can go to your faculty. There's always someone you can go to get help, you know.
Yeah, I was gonna mention I feel like it is a lot better. But yeah, every once in a while there probably will be like someone who's a little not as nice as they could be, but that's just unfortunate. So next question, what are some qualities that go with nursing? Casey, were you saying something?
It's a big question. I feel like, because again, there's a lot of variety with nursing. Because I was gonna say, oh, you like working well with others or like being like a people person or whatever. But if you go into like research nursing and you're like in a lab a lot or doing a lot of surveys or things like that, then maybe not as much. I feel like a big element of it, one, perseverance, being able to be able to take a hit and get right back up. I feel like that's a lot to nursing is one, getting through nursing school. You're not going to get straight A's the entire time, most likely. You're going to fail sometimes, and being able to accept that and take that as a learning experience rather than getting down on yourself, I think is huge. So like resiliency. I don't know. I feel like that's a big one. And yeah, a lot of nursing is being able to connect with other people, whether that's with your teammates on your floor or with that's with patients. So having those like interpersonal connections and like emotional intelligence, I think those are really important qualities.
Yeah, I think the big ones are like, teamwork, leadership, communication. Okay.
I have plenty of opportunities to work on those because my communication was not so great at the beginning, and it's always like one of my goals on my papers. So there's always something you can work on.
Okay, next question. Opinions on scrub nurses and traveling nurses.
Traveling, yes. I actually am looking into travel nursing right now. I think it's great from what I've heard. It is an interesting path to take. A lot of times you do have to work in the hospital for a couple of years and get your experience before you can then sort of go and travel around and everything. That way you at least have that like base level understanding before you're being thrown into new situations every now and then. I think it's a great opportunity. Again, if you're someone who enjoys variety and someone who enjoys exploration and everything, I think that's one of the great things about nursing is that you do have things like travel nursing where you can go and visit other places and work on new units and meet new people and really see the world while also having that like stable position of like being a nurse. And again, the nursing schedule really helps with that as well. I know travel nursing ends up working out really well if you work at hospitals that do have the 12-hour blocks, because you can have like 3 days on, 4 days off, or however you end up working it out, so that then you can go and explore your new area. Travel nursing, great. I'm excited about it. I hope I do it one day.
Anyone else? Okay, I know we're coming close to time, but there are a good amount of questions left. So if the panelists are okay with staying on for like another 10 minutes to try to get through most of these questions?
Yeah.
Okay.
Try
All right.
not to talk as much.
Okay, so what would you say that nursing school is mostly memorization?
Memorization with application. So being able to memorize and then be able to apply that knowledge.
Okay, do you also work in a hospital when you're in college? Some people do. I think that's really hard, like just having any job, part-time or full-time while in nursing school, but there are definitely people who do it.
Yeah,
So
it's
kudos.
doable. I have friends who work because they need to, but they make it work, yeah. They don't, some work in a hospital, but some just have other jobs like in restaurants and stuff like that.
Okay, what are the best places to look for a nursing job? I don't know of anything else besides the internet and kind of just having or getting lucky sometimes, like seeing a post like that's not on like a big database. Sometimes it's better, but
Anywhere with a new grad program is what I'm trying to look for, because then they'll support you and kind of integrate you into their unit. So you're not just kind of like, okay, you're a nurse, here you go. Like, because even after you graduate, you don't know everything and you're constantly learning. So
Okay, so what high school GPA did y'all have when you applied to nursing school during your senior year?
Making me think back right now. This has been years.
yeah, that's more like my GPA mattered to get into Sac State, but not it. Then I had a different GPA that mattered to get into the nursing program. So like my nursing program GPA was like all my science courses and like the prerequisites that I needed. So like they took all those classes, and then so that didn't matter so much for getting into the program, but my GPA mattered for getting into Sac State. And I think like, I don't know.
For a direct admit program, because state is direct admit.
Oh, yeah, but that would be different. But
It's a little different, yeah. I think I had a 4.1 and then like a 1490 or something on my SATs. But you can always look to look at like type in whatever school you're looking at and then say like nursing school stats or something like that. And it'll show you the averages of like the SAT scores and the GPAs of the last admitted class. So you can sort of see, one, the trends of the people who are going, but two, where you should sort of aim. But still remember that that's just an average. So it's going to be above, below, all of the above. Yeah.
Yeah, when I applied straight out of high school, I think it was like a 4.6 GPA and a 1390 on my SATs. So, but that was just like when I was applying straight out of high school. And then when I was actually applying to nursing school, my science GPA, like it varies because they look at science GPA versus just your regular GPA. But it was like a 3.9, 4.0.
Okay, so are the classes understandable for visual learners? That sometimes depends on the teacher, just kind of their teaching style, but it can be for sure.
yeah, because I'm a visual learner and I've done well. But yeah, it depends on the classes. Mostly what my professors have done is they have PowerPoints and we have access to the PowerPoints. So it's a lot of rereading the PowerPoint or making flashcards.
Okay, so what are some tips when studying? Does anyone have any good tips?
Organize, organize, organize. Figure out how you study best. It's really going to be up to you. Reorganize your notes. Don't just go off of the professor's notes. Really try to organize it in a way that makes sense to you, because I think that really helps me. And then especially when it comes to anatomy, my biggest tip that I always give, when you get your diagrams, make copies and either laminate them or put them in sheet protectors so that you can use expo markers to like practice sort of labeling them. That was the biggest thing that helped me, and that was like the biggest like study revelation that I've had in nursing school so far.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. Like, just making flashcards and then like remaking them, anything to help you remember is helpful. Okay, so how many years does it take to be an FNP? I'm not sure. I think 2.
Depends on the
Yeah, I would
program.
say 2, but yeah, it depends.
Okay. What subjects should you focus on if you want to go into nurse midwifery?
What do you mean by subjects? That's like, to become a nurse midwife is a like post-secondary, like you become a nurse and then you practice for a bit and then you go back to school to get your license to be a nurse midwife. So it kind of depends.
So you would focus on all the nursing subjects.
Yeah. Still
Because
gotta
you have
learn
to be
them
a
all.
nurse first. And yeah.
Okay. So next question, how much does nursing programs cost? That'll depend on what school you go to.
For like state schools, it's now. Sac State's like 3,600. But then books is another cost. What's really nice though is, at least at Sac State, we have digital books, so those are cheaper than actually having to buy the big books. um, but yeah, usually it's just the same amount as the tuition at the school.
I mean, I'm pretty sure the private schools are like really expensive, but the state schools are more reasonable, or the community colleges a lot more reasonable. Okay, so next question: is it hard having to work on holidays? I think that's going to depend on, and then on your individual case.
Yeah, like right now with my preceptorship, it's kind of like disappointing. Like, oh, I'm working on this day, but it's okay. I think some, like what I've heard from some nurses, is like, some years you'll have Christmas off, some years you won't, but you get used to it, or you celebrate on a different day or something like that. But I've never worked on a holiday before.
All right, this last question, unless anyone else has any more, is I heard that SDSU is a party school. Can the panelists who attend SDSU answer how they manage their social life and school life? That's all you, Casey.
I love this. I mean the claim that SDSU is a party school, I will say, definitely in the past it has been known as more of like a party school, but if you look at the stats, especially recently, it is becoming increasingly difficult to get into. Like if you look at like GPA, SAT scores, things like that. So it is getting a little bit more difficult to get into, at least like more than like my mom's days back in the day when she's an alum. But balancing social life and school life, I feel like that's a general issue with anyone. I know SUSU has a really strong Greek life. With Greek life, I'm not personally a part of it, but I do have a lot of friends who are a part of it, and they are able to balance, especially if that's something that you bring up during your recruitment process, is that, hi, I'm a nursing student, that's really important to me. A lot of the, especially at state, a lot of the Greek life will be understanding of that and will sort of work with you when it comes to making sure that you're still meeting your requirements for the nursing school as well as Greek life. But just, I mean, I feel like that's with anyone. Make sure that you still are enjoying your college experience and you're still having fun, but just make sure that you set your priorities. I feel like making sure that you know what your priorities are, like prioritizing time for family, prioritizing school, making sure that you stick to those priorities and schedule your time around that. I think that's the biggest thing. You can definitely have a college experience and still go to nursing school. It's all about your time management. And to answer the next question, it says, what is Greek life? That's just a part of college. They're like organizations that you can join, and you could
the sororities and sororities and fraternities. My friends made up a term called frasority, and we're anyways, I almost said that.
Smart.
Okay, so unless anyone has any other questions, we still have a couple more minutes. So if there are any questions, now's your last chance. And okay, well, thank you everyone for joining us. I think that was great. There's so many questions. Oh, do we have one? Oh, okay. Oh, there's a couple more. Okay, so are you guys nurses yet? I have graduated, so I did pass my NCLEX. I am working currently. So yes, very exciting. And next question, you all mentioned a really good SAT score, but I don't know if mine is good. How should I study? Practice questions. That's usually how I study, at least.
Yeah, and I would look at if you have like practice SATs, it's taking me way back. Are there more questions?
To sort of build off of that as well, you say, I don't know if mine is good. Well, if you're trying your best, then it is good. But if you want something to sort of compare to and see where you need to maybe aim for the schools that you want to go to the school's websites. You can type in whatever school it is. So like SDSU School of Nursing stats or something like that. And there will be stats that come up and they sort of give the average. Again, that's an average. So there are people who scored lower or higher or whatever. So that's not law or anything. Like you don't have to get that score, but that might just give you like a good idea of where to aim for.
All right, that was our last question. So thank you everyone for joining us today. I think that was great, and hopefully we can plan some more webinars in the future.
Follow us on Instagram.
I put it in the chat.
Bye.
All right.
We did it.
Right. We got everybody.
And we lost Maritza.
Oh, yeah, she said bye early, so.
Oh.
She's like, I'm out.